Hi, in today's episode, we have Alex, better known as Maya, the drag queen. Maya is popular as a drag artist. Her journey has been one of courage of expression and self-belief. Alex, also known as Maya, is deeply connected to the inner, higher feminine energy in her soul, and from that sacred space emerges this art form. Drag as an art form is about shape-shifting, as Maya says. I can be anyone I choose to be. And how interesting is that? Maya started using this art form in September 2014 to extend the love to perform on stage. And Maya says it's been a glorious 6.5 years of being one of the pioneers of Indian drag scene. Welcome, Maya.
Thank you so much, Mohua.
And tell me about the start of this metamorphosis.
So it all started, I keep saying to everyone that it started in September 2014, but actually the whole start happened when I was in 10th or 11th standard in my school. And I was really wanting to perform in stage, but I had no formal training of dance or singing. So for me, I was like, what do I do? So that's when there was this famous Malayalam movie known as Manichitratar, which was remade into a Bollywood movie known as Bhool Bhulaiya. And I wanted to do the role of Nagu Ali, and also known as, I don't know the character's name in the Hindi movie, Manjalika. So I was like, I want to perform her on stage. And I went to my mother and I said, I want to perform her. And my mom just didn't think twice. Why? Usual questions by parents. Why, what, and all. She and I, we just went to a costume store. We got the Bharatanatyam dress. We got a wig, everything, all the jewelry and all of that. And I went, and with the help of my school friends, I was able to do it. And it's for the fancy dress competition. I've never done fancy dress competition in my life.
How old were you, did you say?
So I would, 10th or 11th, I think I would have been 14, 15, around that age. I do it, and you won't believe it, I got first prize for that fancy dress competition. And I'm like, is this a calling for me? Like, I had that thought when I was small. Like, is this something which I should pursue? But then it was suppressed by the usual, you need to study, you need to get a job, the whole yada yada, all of that. Coming to 2011 is when I started my tryst with theatre. It started in Hyderabad. I was really in tune with, I started with backstage, going into acting full time, and I moved to Bangalore for better work prospects. And that's when I met the theatre community in Bangalore. Now, the theatre community in Bangalore and Hyderabad is totally different.
Why do you say that?
Hyderabad is very they are okay with you being a raw talent. That you are someone with nothing, but you are ready to give it all on stage. While Bangalore theatre community is you need to have finesse, you need to have neutral accent, dialect, all of that. Everything should be on point and all of that. And it's I think it's also to do with the Anglican culture that we have the city has grew up with. So that's when I met a veteran actress. I'm not going to name her. She told me I can neutralize your accent. Your Mallu accent is a bit jarring and all that. And I kept thinking, why are people telling me about my accent? Why are people talking about my body language? I mean, I'm happy with who I am. And that's when I took a breather and I started.
Did that make you depressed? Did you feel alienated at that point?
I felt alienated. Depression, I don't think that gave me depression, but it was more of a fuel. Fuel to the fire. There was a small.
So you're a fighter.
Yeah, I'm a fighter. I mean, I've been fighting all my life, actually. So that's when I started watching movies. I was thinking, you know what? Let me get some inspiration or the other. And that's when I came across this wonderful movie called as Mrs. Doubtfire, where Robin Williams acts like this hip old granny. And I was like, look at Robin Williams. He looks like a man. And he's able to dress up as an old granny. So I was like, if Robin Williams can do it, I can do it too. And that is when I started creating this character of a Malayali woman from a village in Kuttanad, where it's about backwaters, coconut trees, and all beautiful. Of that. And then she comes from there to Bangalore to live with the love of her life. And with that background story running in my head, I do my debut in Humming Tree, which is no more right now, in September 2014. And since then, it's been history, basically. So that's how can I say the short bit of my life till September 2014.
So tell me, when you thought of creating the character, who comes from the backwaters of Kerala, was it also a little bit a part and parcel of your life?
Yeah, so for me, Kerala is all about like it's my
Your
being.
nostalgia?
Yeah, I mean, though I've not lived in near the backwaters, I've been living most of my life in Cochin, which is also near the backwaters technically. So for me, it was like I was in the city but not living in the village. But then I was born in Trivandrum, which is the southern tip of India. So for me, it was all about bringing all that into the picture. Also, why I brought the Malayali woman aspect is because I was surrounded by Malayali women.
And they are very strong.
They're very strong. They're very bold. They are very what is the word to use? Very well-minded. Like if they say this is what I have to do, they will do it.
How wonderful is that? And that has been also your inspiration, I'm sure.
Yeah, my dad has not stayed with me for a lot of my younger years. I've been surrounded by aunties, mom,
Did that
grandmother.
also affect you?
Yeah, it did.
How did that affect you?
It molded me to be this superwoman known as Maya. Or it molded me, like how you said about higher femininity. I call it divine femininity. It molded that part. So I knew, like people follow what the society dictates them. Say that, okay, I have to do MBA, then I have to get married, then I have to buy a property, all of that. At a young age, I started questioning, why should I do that? Why can't I pursue what I love to pursue? Why can't I follow my passion? Why can't I do what others are not doing? That sort of thing. So I think that was from from women in my family.
So during your school years, when you were growing up, did you find this difficult to express with your classmates? Was that tough?
Of course. So a lot of times in interviews, I've got these questions like, "What kind of horrible words were used in school?" And I'm like, I didn't face horrible words. To be honest, the boys in my class were actually say, "You walk like a lady." And I used to get hurt when I was young. I was like, as a kid, I got like, oh my God, I should walk like a man. Why am I walking like a lady? But right now, I look back, I'm like, that was a compliment. I walk like a lady. That means I'm really great at what I do. What happened is, as I progressed in terms of like I did it in graduation, I came and did my graduation here in Bangalore, post graduation in Trivandrum. Everywhere people were saying you're too expressive, you walk funnily, or you all of that stuff. And I'm like, why are you so bothered about my bodily expressions, how I express? So but then I found the passion for what I can do and which I can flourish. So that's
Tell me a little more about drag as an art form, because that's really, I don't think it's understood very well by people, because India is still right now at that cusp of change.
Right.
And there is change happening, because I'm a very optimistic person, and I know that drag will become a very, very, I would like to use the word accepted form of art. Where does that emanate from, this higher divine feminine energy that you talk about, that divinity that enters you, when did it begin? How does it, envelop you as a person?
Right.
It's going to really help our listeners to understand how we need to delve into your mind and your heart. Because for me, I do not know how you would get into that space, because I don't know what is the masculine energy in me. I know my feminine energy. So for you, Maya, tell me about this process.
So it's like, I'm going to start with the history of drag, because that's how I'll start, and then I'll go into divine femininity. So history of drag, It started in 17th century where women were not allowed to perform in theater. If you look at it, drag as an acronym, it's called as dragging your skirts on stage. So for me,
Dragging your skirts on
on
stage.
stage. So basically, they used to wear really long skirts, and that skirts used to make sound. So that is how the acronym came into place, drag. And also, if you're looking, this is in 17th century during Shakespearean times. I'm talking about England. But if you look at even India, we come to our art forms like Kathakali, Teyyam, Yakshagana, where men were actually told to perform women roles. And you can see how they used to exude their femininity. The right now, what is happening in our society is that we are bifurcating with you look like a man, so you behave masculine. You look like a woman, so you behave feminine. But at the end of the day, a human being has both traits of being masculine and feminine.
Absolutely.
And that is something which people are yet to come to terms with. It's always about blue, pink, blue for boys, pink for girls, and all of that stuff. And that's not right. I mean, I love wearing pink too. So as a guy, and I'm pretty sure Maya loves to wear blue saris. So why put that bifurcation?
So when you say Maya loves to wear blue saris,
Hmm.
I need to understand this part a little bit more.
So, see, it's during even lockdown, like how you said that you learned more about yourself. I also learned a lot more. I was like, why do I have to put Maya in this pretty box? Why can't I make her a little more, if I have to say, a mix of being feminine and being masculine? And that's when I started experimenting with coats, with crop tops, with booty shots, and all of that stuff. So it was just me being experimenting with, both the traits. Let me see. It's basically, if I have to say, pardon my French, gender fuck, basically. So basically, if people look at me and they go like, I don't know, they don't know how to react to me, then I've done my job. That's how it goes. Now, coming back to divine femininity, it's a sacred place for me. If I have to put it in the terms of from India, it's called a Shakti, my inner Shakti, basically. So it's a place where I don't let anybody enter. If I make you enter, then you mean the best of me, or you mean a lot to me. So whenever I make you enter, that place is where I become vulnerable as possible. Now, right now, what is happening is.
What do you mean when you say vulnerable as possible?
Because right now, like I'm showing without my, like, see, thing is, we are all born naked and rest is drag. So, right now, what is happening is.
We are all born naked, rest is drag.
Yeah. Right now, what is happening is we're cloaking ourselves with a lot of insecurities. Oh my God, my weight is too much. I can't. I have to look a certain way to be appreciating in a certain way. Oh my God, my face is not looking like this. Oh my God, I don't have my job like this next to my partner. So many insecurities. What the power of drag is that we actually remove all these insecurities and just be ourselves, just be the true form. And we are actually telling people just
Embrace
embrace life, have fun with life, because you have only one life. You're not going to have this chance again. And that's when I keep telling people, like, when they say, oh my God, I wish I did drag, and I say you should do drag, because drag will actually make you comfortable with your gender and sexuality.
And that is a big issue in society, right?
Yeah. Because they're getting wound up with the whole gender constructs, the whole sexuality constructs. Like, I still meet men now. It's because I only meet men that, but I know when I meet women, they are sexually fluid. It's a different thing with women, and it's a different thing with men.
What do you mean when you say sexually fluid?
Because I think they are comfortable with each other. There is no, like, oh my God, what will happen if this person makes a move on me? Even if a woman makes a move on another woman, they will say, listen, I admire this, I like this about you, but listen, I'm straight. I've heard straight women do this with lesbian women, and lesbian women are okay with it. Now, if you look at a gay man doing this to a straight man, it's a different conversation altogether.
They get aggressive.
They get aggressive for no reason. I'm like, you know what? Just saying straight and just saying that, okay, it's fine. So I'm happy with who you are, and just leave me be.
So have you faced any situation of this sort where somebody has gotten aggressive with you?
So the thing is, I keep joking that when they see me in person, I'm 6 foot, large and charged. So they are not ready to even make an attempt to meet me and talk. But it's always been this online spaces that people get aggressive. People get this whole idea about
You mean trolling?
The thing is, trolling, I do it with a little bit of sass and a comeback, and it's done. But it always happens in the dating apps, basically. So when I'm in and I say truthfully, I don't hide the side of me being Maya and all of that. So they get attracted to that side, and then they realize that at the end of the day, I'm a guy, and then they're like, "Oh shit, I'm straight," just to cover it all up. They are attracted to me, but they just don't want to accept the fact that they're attracted to me. They're like, no, 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 I'm no. So basically, what is their assumption? Their assumption is that either I'm a trans woman or a cross dresser. So it's their whole idea of, okay, I'm okay with that, but I'm not okay with a drag queen, a queer man performing as a woman on stage. I've dealt with a lot of them, and it's literally, there are times when I get irritated. There are times when I'll be like, you know what, I just want to delete all these apps and, just say fuck off to all these online spaces. But I was like, then how will I meet and talk with, men who I am actually attracted to?
Do you feel lonely?
There were times when I felt like that, but like how you said, during lockdown, it actually helped me be happy with who I am. I learned a lot more. There were these ugly sides of me which I was not ready to, deal with.
What is that ugly side?
So there were these ugly sides where I was like, you know what? It's simple things like these weaknesses. Like I'm lethargic at times.
It's okay to be.
It is okay to be
lethargic,
yes. But back then I was being very hard on myself. I was like, no, you should do something. You should do that, this and all. I started.
Do you know somewhere, Maya? I think this emanates just from our upbringing, because I think we as children, we're all the time told that what you're doing is not enough. We're told by society that what we're doing is not enough, and that's when the whole discomfort of not being able to achieve your grades, not being able to be who you are, because you've been given this whole blueprint of what you need to do.
And it's all about you being part of extracurricular activities and all of that.
Exactly. So I was terrible in sports.
Even me,
I was so bad.
I was bad with sports. I was like, why am I put into PT classes?
Exactly. And I think I faced so much of issues by being called that I was not sporting, and all of it. And when you're young, you're so vulnerable because all these things leave an impression, and you can never ever go and join sports in the years ahead unless you really unlock all those little knots that you have in your brain.
Right.
So tell me something now, especially with COVID and with the pandemic, performances have stopped, right? You were performing in Kitiko, which I think is an amazing space because it allows freedom for there are a lot of LGBTQ plus do's that happen in Kitiko, and I think it's a fantastic space. And I think I met you long time back there once. Yes. So now with performances, obviously I don't think there is too many of the performances happening, and bars have been shut for a while. How have you been able to keep up with the creativity? And this is also your profession, am I right? So that must be a really daunting number.
So when the lockdown was announced, I literally was wallowing in my misery. For 3 weeks, I was like, I was at my parents' place, which is in Hebbal, and I have my room, which is in Indranagar, and my drag box was in Indranagar. So you can imagine for 3 months or almost a month or two, I was not able to access my makeup.
What did it do to you?
It literally broke me because I was getting a lot of opportunities to perform online and all of that, and I couldn't do it. I had to say no. I was forced to say no because I couldn't go out of the house, or I couldn't travel with my mom or something like that just to go get the box and come back. And then I was like, you know what? I'll just do is I actually took my sister's makeup and I started working with that. It was not my shade. It was lighter in color. It was looking horrible on me. But I was like, you know what? I will do what I have to do and make it work. And that's exactly what I did. I think my first gig during the whole lockdown was reading a story to children. So basically, it's a Facebook group where there's children and children and parents, and they listen to stories read by drag queens. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Oh, how interesting is that? And what is this Facebook group called?
I forgot. Actually, my friend only introduced me.
It's from Bangalore?
No, it was international basically. So there was like a group
That's
of.
the catch, We still in India do not have this.
No, we still
because we don't normalize,
Exactly.
differences in gender.
Exactly. So for me, I went and read one of the stories from Panchatattva, and the kids liked it. The parents loved it, and I was like, okay, like it was a simple story. I think it was a simple story about a lion, elephant and the monkeys, and how they come together and help each other. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm doing it just for the sake of it. But I got paid for it. And I was like, with that, I started doing more things. I started doing panel discussions. I started doing, it came to a point where I'm like, I'm getting featured in GQ, I'm getting featured in VH1. And I'm like, these are big platforms. How is this even possible during lockdown that I'm able to get this? So.
That must have been a big boost for your confidence levels
because
also.
Like how you said, I am a fighter, and because
I can see that.
Because there was a whole bit of that I wallowed in my misery, but then after that you just dust all of that and just go ahead.
I'm just like you. I don't let anybody get me down. I will wallow for about few days, then after that I will say that I'm sorry, I don't think you can get me down. I think it's the fighter spirit that I think everybody needs to have, because or else you'll never be able to discover yourself.
I recently had a guy I think in Bumble ask me, how do you shake off all these hate that you get? And I'm like, listen, I just focus on the positivity. I'm not going to focus on negativity.
I admire you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
do.
you.
Because it needs so much of courage to follow your passion that is different, in society.
Yeah.
And especially in India, this is just like the genesis. There are not too many people doing this. Even if they wish to do it, they're very worried. Of course, years back, I'm a Bengali, and there is Jatra that used to be the theatre form that traveled all across West Bengal,
Right.
And I think even in Maharashtra, theatres are very big number. And men did a Ram Leela that happens even now in Delhi.
Right.
So Ram, Sita is always a man.
Right. And so even in Telangana, there is this big theatre troupe known as Maya Bazaar.
And yes, I've heard about Maya Bazaar.
They actually employ men to perform as women.
So basically. I think in India, it is there. It is very much there. It is just this that I think somewhere where people have gone into schools where you've been anglicized, the whole sense of right and wrong and the rest of it has just become such a large black and white number.
Yeah, and I become a little extra, and I go and say I blame the British to do all this shit. Because way before they conquered,
India is a very, very inclusive society.
We were inclusive.
We
were sexually liberated.
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine we give birth to Kama Sutra, and we have temples which glorify different forms of sexualities.
Absolutely.
So I was like, no, they were literally coming with Bible thumping, and they were telling this is not the right thing to do. You have to be moral society according to us.
Alex, you're a Christian, right?
Yeah, I'm a Christian, and I don't actually I've not visited church since 2014. I think the recent time I visited church was for my sister's wedding, which was...
And how has your family been with this?
So it was literally... it could have been great if Karan Johar produced the drama and made it into a movie, but it didn't happen.
We can send across a script. We can work together on it.
Because what happened is my mom had an idea. All mothers have an idea. They have that feeling, but they just don't want to accept. They're like, what if he becomes okay with the society, get married and all of that. I think my sister outed me during a visit to Kerala, and my mother said, started quoting Bible verses and all of that. And then I said, listen, I tell you at the right time when it comes. So it was after my first performance as Maya, and I was going into my second, because immediately after my first performance, I got a chance to perform again. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it again. And I told her that. And she's like, no, you can't do it, like that, she said. And I was framing a 6-month-old email where I'm coming out to my parents. And the after the call, my intuition just told me, send the email right now.
And what did that email have?
So the email was basically stating about me, saying to my parents, say, listen, this is me. This is who I'm going to be. I'm a queer man and I'm going to perform as a drag queen for the rest of my life. You can decide on whatever. And you can imagine I actually put in Bible verses about like how supports my, me being true to who I am. And I sent it to both of them, and silence for 2 days. I was like, what is happening? Why are they silent? Call up my mother, and my mother was like, I don't care about your sexuality, but drag you should not do. And I call up my dad, and my dad is like, I already sent a reply to your email. I'm like, what? What? I didn't get any reply. So it turns out that he sent to some other Alex Matthew, and he didn't send it to me. So then he forwarded the email, and it was a rebuttal email to my email. So basically replying to all the Bible verses and all of that. And in the end, he said, sexuality is a sin, but drag is okay as long as you get paid for it.
Wow.
So I had two opposite polar opinions from both my parents. I was like, hold on, I'm going to give them time and space. And for Mohua, for at least 1.5 years, I actually didn't talk, or even if we talked, it would end up in fights. All of that happened. It was in Jan 2016 that both my parents decided together that we are hurting, all of us are hurting each other. That is,
Thank
Dad,
God, because so many
Mom.
families don't even come to this awakening.
Yeah. Dad, Mom.
You're fortunate.
Dad and Mom decided this, and my dad got a job in Bangalore. Mom and my grandmother decided that they're going to shift here. And since March 2016, they've been in the city, basically. And it was not like how you see in these movies, suddenly they see you and then they just let go of everything. No.
Of course not.
My mom took her own sweet time to get to know me. I tried educating her. I tried my best to show her bits and pieces of, me being as drag queen, me being as queer man, and all of that. Her whole, her worst nightmare that could come was that I would turn to be a trans woman, or I'm going to be a full-time cross-dresser. But when she saw that I'm not, then she was like, like that. But then I think it was more about me educating her more than, she realizing.
I can't even begin to fathom how tough that must have been on you, Alex.
It was tough, and that's why I used to keep coming to my parents' place only once in a week. That's what I used to do. I was like, you know what, I have my own life. I'll come and visit you, and that's what I'm going to do.
What about love? Does Maya get more love, or does Alex get more love?
As Alex, I got love once, and that went on for 2 years and 9 months until he called me fat. And then twice as Maya, but they wanted me full-time as Maya, and didn't want to accept me as Alex. So right now...
What do you mean when you say full-time as Maya?
Basically, always dressing up as Maya. And that didn't agree with me, because I liked being Alex also. So ultimately, I decided that, hey, if I'm going to date a guy, he has to accept me as Alex and Maya.
Both sides of the coin.
Yes, please. I mean, why should you disregard one side of me? Both sides are equal. We both are equal. I can actually, like a drop of a coin, just say, okay, I'm done with Maya. I'm retiring from being Maya the drag queen. Thank you so much for all the support you gave. I can do that. But I'm not doing that because
you should not.
Because I found the higher purpose in life of what I need to do. What is my purpose? And that is love for me. Coming back to how it was connected to my family is on September 2018 is when the repeal of Section 377 happened. And it was
I rejoiced.
we all rejoiced basically.
Yes.
So there was this whole foray of articles and all of that, and my mom just called me in the kitchen and said, listen, if you are dating a guy, you are going to date him for a year before you move in with him. And for me it was like, what?
Move in with whom?
Move in with the guy.
Okay.
So from going from saying that I don't care about your sexuality to giving me dating advice, that's a long way that she came.
Do you think it also emanates from a space of being worried about you being lonely?
It could be, because at the same time they were actually worried of me being settling down. See, ultimately the core crux of parents, right, whenever the child comes out, is about the child will be able to settle down or not. Settle down with a job, settle down with a house, settle down with a partner. That is always the crux of parents. Now, if all this is being ticked, the parents don't have any problem, unless it's all about log kya kahenge, moralistic view, and all of that stuff, and that's wrong actually. Now my mom actually helps me bind my corset, tells me
How wonderful is that?
and tells me if this picture looks good, no, too much makeup, too much eye makeup, too much this, like a full on she gives me. She's like, oh, this time you did your makeup really well and all of that stuff. She gives me all that pointers.
So you know how to do your entire makeup by yourself?
Yeah, you give me 2 hours, I can do it by myself.
Wonderful. So have you ever even considered a career in being a makeup artist with anyone?
No, I don't want to do that. That's
No.
not my calling. My
No.
calling at the moment is creating content for the queer people and putting out more stories about queer people.
Is there a huge space on the net on queer writing and queer expressions?
Not yet.
Not yet?
I'm going to carve a space on my own. I mean, I'm telling it all open to you at the moment. But Indian queer,
Of course you will.
Indian queer movies is very rare. It's not so much, or even if it's there, it's been hijacked by straight people or cisgender people, and that's not the right.
There was a
thing to do.
beautiful film by Rituparna Ghosh. That I think when we met last time we spoke
You told
about
me about
it.
this.
Yes,
Chapal
Chopal Bhaduri.
Bhaduri. Yeah.
So he was also a performer, Jatra performer. It has been done to perfection. It is such a fine film. I could feel the lump in my throat, and the tears in the corner of my eyes. So that sort of sensitivity, I don't think there are too many, at least I'm not aware of. And
it's very rare that you come with a movie which is done with sensitivity. Like, what pissed me more off was when I saw a movie which actually set the trans lives movement decades. It was not progression, it was more of digression. And I don't know if you know the movie, but the movie is known as Lakshmi.
No, I've not heard of it.
So
Tell me a little about it.
So like Lakshmi is a movie where Akshay Kumar is acting in it, and he's possessed by a trans woman who's a ghost. A trans woman who's portrayed in the movie was portrayed by a cisgender man, straight cisgender man, and I felt like it was all about the stereotypes that is being perpetuated by Bollywood.
What is the stereotype?
That trans woman should walk like this, will talk like this, and clap like this, and all of that. And I have worked with trans women, and they don't do that. So why are you showing that? And then they were coming up with excuses. No, we've given money to an NGO. No, we have done this. I'm like, listen, giving money is not going to matter when you are actually perpetuating stereotype, which is going to damage the whole trans community.
We are far away from
any form of
light entering there. But there is hope. And I'm sure, Maya, you'll be creating loads and loads of great content.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being on this episode.
Thank you so much for
inviting me. And I'm sure
me.
My listeners would have really, really enjoyed and learned a lot about it. Look forward to more interviews with you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mohua.
Thank you.